Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Hello friends and welcome to another recommendations video. And today let's dive into some office or workplace romances, whatever you want to call it. Some of them might be more unconventional than others, but this is a trope I know a lot of us love because it is a form basically of forced proximity, which is something that, all the best romances have, because we want to get our two leads in the same place where they're having to work together, whether that is, a nanny and single dad situation, a sports romance where they're like a coach and a player, or on opposite teams who have to play, or any type of situations like that, when we are having to force proximity through workplace where you have to see the person day after day, that it's also usually a bit forbidden because of that. Maybe there are rules in place where you're not allowed to date. All of those aspects just really can ratchet up the tension and make it very exciting. And those just can make the romance even sweeter when we get those forbidden romances, or that forbidden tension going. We just really love those moments. So let's go ahead and dive into these today. But first, let's give a little old plug here. If you love getting romance recommendations of all kinds, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel. I literally have a playlist with hundreds and hundreds of romance recommendations of all kinds: dark, historical, contemporary, spicy, age gaps, kinky. I have everything. So make sure you are subscribed to the Book Refuge to get that of all kinds for you. So let's start off with Meet Your Match by Candy Steiner. This is cool because this was actually the first Candy Steiner I'd read in literally years when I picked this one up. In fact, I thought it was the first Candy Steiner I'd read because the only other one I'd read by her I'd read so long ago. And it was called Waitlist, the first one that I read. I read it so long ago I didn't even know that it was her. But this one is a hockey romance. It was the first, or is the first one in the Kings of the Ice. And this one is about Maven and Vince. And this one is 24/7 access on and off the ice here. And I'm just going to read the back because it's been a while since I've read this one here. But it says, 1 month with Vince Tanev, Tampa's hotshot rookie. The headline says it all, and my bosses are over the moon when the opportunity of a lifetime lands in my lap. Of course, they aren't aware that I've already met Vince at an all-star gala, and that we were at each other's throats the entire time. It doesn't matter that he's the kind of hot that shows God has favorites. It doesn't matter. Oh, I just read that. Messy brown hair, heated hazel eyes, and the smirk of a rock star, and a scar over his eyebrow that makes every woman particularly feral. He's a rich, cocky playboy, a brand I'm all too familiar with, and one I'm determined to never be around again. But after my coverage of the gala stirs up buzz, the team's general manager and my CEO strike a deal. To help fill the arena at home games, I'll get up close and personal with Tampa's new shiny toy. Whether he's at practice, playing in a game, partying, or drinking coffee half naked in his condo, I'll be there for all of it. Vince gets under my skin like no one else. It isn't long before the paper-thin line between hate and lust blurs, and being around him every waking minute of the day leaves no chance to escape his devilish stare. The air crackles between us. The tension is hot enough to melt my inhibitions, but I know the way this story ends. I've lived it once before. As much as I work to guard my heart, my body is a traitor, and if this man puts his hands on me, I know I'll submit to desire. I thought 1 month with Vince was a game I could win, but I might have just met my match. So this one, our heroine is supposed to live with him and kind of help make him look good after some things she says about him get his reputation in a bit of a... Well, his reputation's already in a bit of an uncomfortable place. She even is like living with him, so it's a forced proximity roommate situation, and she's supposed to kind of help clear that up a bit. But now she's even staying with him, and she's supposed to resist his charms and help keep him on the right track. Well, as it says, help the attention be the right kind of attention for him. So yeah, this one was really fun. I really enjoyed the audiobook is how I listened to this one. And I believe too that Maven had been involved with an athlete before and it hadn't went very well. And that's another reason why she's pretty gun shy to be around him again. An athlete a chance again. Okay, next up, I have Crazy Love by Willow Astor. This is one I liked a lot. I love Willow Astor. This was book 5 in the Single Dad's Playbook. And you can read this series out of order. I will say, though, this one did mean a lot if you read it in order. But because I'm recommending it here, obviously I'm saying you could read it out of order if you want to. This one was really, really beautiful. It was really sweet. So this one is about Penn. And hold on, let me pull up the heroine's name here too. This one was about Penn and Addie, and they actually meet at, I believe it's a friend's like wedding is how these two meet. And they like almost have a hookup, or maybe they do, or they almost do. I don't know. When their other friends are like getting together. But he's a football player and she's actually, I believe, a dietitian or somehow, and she gets hired to work for the Mustangs. And when she gets a new job and when she gets back to her hometown, she finds out that he's one of the players that she is going to be working with. But then, so that kind of like puts a kibosh on there being anything between them. I think this might even be if she is the coach's daughter. Is that also the scenario of this one too? Can't remember if I wrote that down in my notes here. It's been a while since I read this one, but I'm not sure here. But then there also comes a state where there is this kid who our hero Penn has been kind of like a big brother to. There's a kid in foster care that he's been like a big brother to. And when this kid, it becomes clear that the foster parents he has are abusing him, Penn is trying to adopt this kid, or at least become his foster parent. But because he is single and he does like travel a lot because he's a football player, even though he makes a lot of money and he's a really stable guy, they don't want to let him adopt this kid. And so Penn and Addie, they end up getting married so that he can be kind of, I guess, fast-tracked to become the parent of this kid. And so that does kind of put him in a tough spot with, it puts her and him in a tough spot with their job, but it allows him to, you know, basically rescue this kid. So yeah, this one is a workplace romance that becomes a fake marriage. But they also already do have feelings for one another. And so I really liked that they also were like, you know, if this becomes something, we're not going to be mad about it. But we also have to be careful because we have this kid in our life now. And if we're going to be a family, like we're going to be a family, we're not going to mess things up for him. And I thought that was really beautiful as well. So really love this one. And again, you can just read this one. I don't think you will have a problem seeing how the other couples fit into it. But this whole series is called The Single Dad's Playbook. And I loved how each guy was a single dad in a different way, right? This guy wanted to be a single dad. He was going to adopt this little boy all on his own. He wanted to. And it was the system that wasn't going to let him do that, right? He was willing to make sacrifices and changes to love this little boy without, you know, being married. And he was willing to do that because he knew how badly this kid needed someone. But the system is set against him. They'd rather have this kid be with two fucked up parents than one wealthy, loving man who would do anything for this kid. So yeah, it was just really interesting. I love that. Then, you know, we have to fit in. Do I have more than one? I think I might just have one nanny romance in here. I tried not to put too many because I I've done a few single dad nanny romance recs themselves, so I didn't want to put too many in here. But a nanny single dad romance definitely fits in an office romance as well. But I just put one in there in this time. So I have The Good Girl Effect by Sarah Kate. And this one came out last year. And this one is also the spinoff from the Salacious Players Club. This is Salacious Legacy. And so we have Jack St. Clair, who is the son of, I think this is Edith. Let me double check. Because they have, no, yes, I'm right. Eden, I always want to say Edith. Eden, Jade, and Clay. Jack is Eden's son. That is from Madam, if you've read that series. And Jack and a lot of the other kids from that series, they are trying to run Salacious Players Club in Paris, and they're having some problems. And Jack is a single dad, and he's struggling, and he needs a nanny. And then we introduce Camille, who she is kind of at loose ends in her life. Like, things aren't going as smoothly as she would like. And she actually comes across this book at this bookshop she's working in. And there is this letter inside that's actually like a letter between Jack and his first wife, which is kind of an interesting way for her to find out about him. But it makes her actually curious about this couple. And on one of her days off, she ends up following like the address of where this was sent from to the home, and she shows up there just in time actually for there to be interviews going on for a nanny for Jack's child. So coincidence of coincidences. And she ends up getting hired to be the nanny for Jack's daughter. And as she's spending time in this house, she learns what Jack's job is. She learns that he has a room in his house that is full of all this kinky stuff. And eventually she's going to get invited to do kinky things with him as well. Is going to happen there. But yeah, forced proximity. It's going to be, I will teach you kinky things, but don't try to touch my heart. I'll only do things to your body. You can't have things with my heart type of thing. But at the same time, it was very, like, Sarah Kate is able to do some really powerful things. Let's just say that. She's really able to reach you in ways you aren't expecting using kink. And that's what always keeps me coming back to her, in how she is able to tell those stories. But also, there's a beautiful, he uses shibari in this, which I really liked how that was done in here. Okay, then there is Bad for Business by Kat Singleton. And this one is I actually have a few of these. That's funny. This is like, ended up being a theme. I have a few of these in this one about helping people with their reputation, because that's what the Meet Your Match was, and so is Bad for Business, and I have another one in this list too. So Bad for Business is about Riker Davenport, who is the heir to a family's company, and then our heroine is, oh, come on. Don't do that. Oh, I literally hate Goodreads, you guys. It is so clunky. Camille, again, wow, so many Camilles. And Camille is a publicist. And he is trying to impress the board so that he will get to keep like a seat in the family business. And so he has the summer to, or like pre-summer, I can't remember how it is, to like impress the board so that they won't like, I guess like overlook him or overrule him. I don't really understand how these big corporations work, but basically Camille is going to be like staying with him through the summer, like in the Hamptons or whatever, trying to improve his image. Now, the thing is that these two had like an affair with each other, or like a fling or whatever. And then she had never like gotten back to him or whatever. And now she gets assigned to work with him. And so there's still this like sexual tension between them. And he is kind of a bit butthurt that she was so able to easily forget about him. So there's a lot of like that going on. And also she's being kind of like gaslit and emotionally manipulated by her father into like, you know, her father only thinks she's able to do certain parts of the business. And so by her staying with Riker and helping improve his image, she's trying to prove to her father her worth to him, you know, like it's that type of scenario. But this isn't really the parts of the business that she wants to do. But that's like all her father makes her feel like she's worth. So there's also like those parts of it. So yeah, but then Riker, because he is a bit like angry too about how he feels like she's kind of snubbing him, he's also trying to like get her to quit by being as ridiculous as possible, which does seem a little bit reckless on his part because his dad is pretty serious about like, if you don't do this right, he could be in trouble for his position in the business. So it was just, there are parts of it that felt a little bit childish for what's at stake. But then again, he is from the super wealthy family. And so if he fucks it up for her, he's probably still going to be okay. But what would be left for her, right? So yeah. But it's another one of those of like, she's working for him, but also they're having to like live together while they do this. So there was a lot of tension there for sure. Okay, then this one was pretty fun. Catch Me by Tiffany Patterson. This was kind of a unique one, is why I liked this for an office romance, because this one was an actor who was Andreas. This was a part of the, come on, where are you? Why can't you just list what's supposed to be here? Of the Townsend legacy. But he's going by a different name so that people don't know him and don't give him work just because of his family name is supposed to be the thing. Andreas. And then, but he's an actor. And then there is, Ivy, who is the costumer, she's like the assistant to the costumer or whatever. And she's worked really, really hard to get to this position. She's the assistant to like the assistant costumer, and she gets a lot of shit for what she does. Her parents don't approve that this is the job she does. She has anxiety. It's very like stressful work, but Andreas gets a load of her and he wants her so bad. And because he's a Townsend man, he's going to do whatever he has to do to get her. Like, boy wants her so bad. But she's also very like, you know, hesitant about that because she's been warned away from not falling for any of the actors. And her boss is always just like literally on her ass. And if she even like looks at Andreas, this woman is ready to like jump on her, basically jump down her throat. But Andreas is very persistent and very sweet and very attentive to her. So I love to see that and everything. Very supportive. We love to see it. And I just really liked I'm not usually someone who likes to really read about, so some of my like least favorite things usually are to do with like Hollywood, or I don't really like reading a lot of like rock stars or Hollywood stuff. Like, it's just not my favorite. That doesn't mean I don't like some a lot that do. It's just not normally what I reach for on the regular. But I enjoyed like being in a Hollywood set for this one, and like how the costumes were handled and seeing those things in here. And I liked being in Andreas's head about how he looked at his character and things like that. So I also love this because this was an interracial couple, and I liked the being on set and her take on costumes and things like that. But yeah, this one was really good. And again, a different take on like an office romance and like meeting on a job and things like that. Okay, then I actually have two different books from Anna Huang that are both office romance. And like I mentioned, I have a few that are all like reputation based. So this one here is King of Sloth, which I feel like a lot of people don't talk about because this isn't people's favorite in the Kings of Sin. And I understand that. It's not my favorite either, but it's still really good. Okay? It is. It's just, it definitely gets outshined when you compare it to A King of Greed or a King of Envy that just came out, or even, you know, a King of Pride is good too. Like, they're really all kind of better than this one. But that doesn't mean this is a bad book. It's just, I think Anne Huang is a very strong writer. I do. I love her books. And this isn't one that I like pick off the top of my head ever as the one to recommend. But it fits for this trope, and so I want to bring it up because I think it gets forgotten. And to be honest, I don't think people usually like read this series in order often. I think they kind of just jump around to the ones people say is their favorite. But there are big chunks of time between the newest releases in this series, and you definitely have time to get through them all, you know? So King of Sloth is actually about Javier, and he is a charming, easygoing, rich boy. And again, like some of these others I've talked about with reputation-wise, in this case, I believe this one, his father has died, and his father's kind of left him with an ultimatum, if I remember correctly. And in this case, Sloan Kensington is a publicist who's used to dealing with difficult clients, and she is kind of tasked with helping Javier meet this challenge his father left behind for him, and he either needs to meet this challenge or kind of lose everything. And he won't lose like everything, but he would lose what he thought his legacy was going to be, right? And it's his legacy his father's leaving him that he just kind of took for granted would be his, based on, you know, based on what he always expected it would be, right? Based on just who he thought he was as his father's son, if he can't get his shit together. And Sloan is the one who, you know, is going to either help him succeed or be the one to kind of watch him fail at it, I guess is a way to say that. But yeah, I really love this couple. And I just really love the good job that Anna did writing a character who, in my opinion, like, of a lot of these characters who are written as like a playboy who seems to be a ne'er-do-well, I think he kind of truly might fit that more than some others you read, right? He of course has depth to him. No one is just a piece of paper, thin, nothing. But he is also carefree in a lot. He has had his privileges. It's not that he doesn't have depth or thing to it, but he also does the best job of making you like believe those things. And he also does the best job of when he's coming up with of like reasons to change and finding reasons to have more depth, that I like believe it the most. Like, that change is gradual. It doesn't just happen on a dime. And though his reasons for changing kind of start superficial, as he finds the depth of character to want to do it, like, I believe that growth the most is what I would say. Like, I believe that build up and growth the most. Anyway, I don't know if that made sense, but whatever. I really like this one. And again, I think a lot of people sleep on this one because it's not as flashy or as talked about as much as, again, King of Greed, King of Envy. Those are a lot of people's favorites. I mean, even King of Wrath, a lot of people love those. I don't hear people talk about King of Sloth. I mean, I don't talk about King of Sloth. Like, when people ask my favorite, it's never going to be King of Sloth. But when you have a series that's going to be 7 books overall, I understand why it's not this one. Because there has to be a book that is people's least favorite, but it's still good, you know? And then the other one by her is her most recent release, and one that I really enjoyed. I've had this, it was one of my favorite reads in December, and honestly, a really strong read overall last year was The Defender. And this one is another case of like someone working for a sports team. This one, she is the nutritionist for the sports team. Again, that's funny. That really is what the other lady was too. That's cute. But this one, it's for a soccer team in the UK, and she's also the coach's daughter. That is so funny. I didn't even do that on purpose. But yeah, this one is, the hero is the captain of the Black Castle football team, Vincent Dubois. And they have kind of this, in this case though, these two kind of have this like, I don't know, like slight antagonism going back and forth with one another. And she is like best friends with his like rival's girlfriend. So there's more, of like animosity going on, whereas in like Crazy Love, the one I was talking about, they had like a fling and they really like each other. These two have this antagonism going on. But when Vincent has actually a stalker, he needs a safe place to stay, and she has a room to rent out. And so secretly, because again, her father is the coach, and her father would definitely frown upon this if he knew, Vincent moves into Brooklyn's flat, and now they become flatmates. And this is when like a really genuine friendship begins between the two of them. And that's what I really love about this. And this is something that I think Anna Wong, when people complain about the length of some of her books, which to be honest, both of the ones I talk about here, these are not the ones that are too long that people say. But I think she does really well at building relationships for her characters. And I don't just mean the romantic ones. She does a really good job of building foundational relationships that make it so natural when romantic feelings start. And she did a great job of like, these two don't despise one another and go from despising to loving. They have some antagonism. They have the things that irk one another. Some things that, as a reader, you clearly see they're trying to be annoyed, so they don't like each other, but they're attracted to it. You know, like that type of thing where like, you know, they don't hate one another. They're trying to be annoyed so that they're not attracted. But now they live together and they're seeing one another in their more vulnerable states. And so it's sexy when we see them in certain ways and things like that. And that's fun, you know. But anyway, and so eventually feelings start, and then I don't want to say more than that, but again, there's a stalker situation going on. There's the impediment of like, it is forbidden for someone who works for the team to date someone on the team. Her father's the coach. Her work with the team is only part-time. She has family who lives in America. She doesn't know what she's doing after the internship with the team. So there's a lot of real life stuff going on in here. And this book covers a good amount of time too. I like that. It's not all shoved into like a month worth of time. Like their relationship in this book spans like a whole season of the sport. And I just really like that. It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like life is passing by. And so as the relationship goes from antagonism to roommates to friends to lovers, it is believable. And that just made this one so good, and it made such an impression. So yeah, this one is really, really great. I love it. Okay, now, you know, because I gotta give you guys something to sustain you for your heated rivalry withdrawals, let's talk about a Serena Bowen here. That's called The Last Guy on Earth, okay? So this one is honestly, so this one is a part of Serena Bowen's hockey universe. So this is the same universe which in Westme exists, which if you don't know who Westme is, that is Jamie and West, who exist in the Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. And then eventually Serena Bowen is the one who just kept writing hockey romance, and her Romance and her other worlds, like all of it exists in the same place. So you really can jump in whenever you want. But it is most satisfying if you start at the very beginning of her world, but you can hop in whenever. So with The Last Guy on Earth here, we have Jethro and Clay. And in this world, Clay is a coach now. And he's just had a trade happen where this player, Jethro, gets brought in. And what Clay is not too happy about that, because Jethro is actually a player that he knows. And they actually were lovers once. And he is currently a legal guardian of his nephew, because his sister is in a rehab facility, because she was in a car accident where she injured her passenger. And so then he gets the info, though, that he's been traded to another team. And so he has to take his nephew, move him away from where his sister was. And so he's having to deal with, like, the animosity of, like, doing this and now being on a team that really doesn't want him. And then his, like, ex-lover is now his coach. And so there's so much stress on this situation for them. And then they were never an out couple. Like, this was a secret. They'd broken each other's hearts like 15 years ago, when they were in the minor leagues, and they lived together in a trashy apartment. And so this is just a very angsty, it's told with flashbacks and current time. And it's also very interesting because in this world, there are some out hockey players at this point, but there isn't like a coach who's out. And so, yeah, it's going to be very sticky. It's going to be very awkward, and we're going to have to face who broke whose heart. Is it the time for anyone else to be coming out? And just because other people are out doesn't mean that everyone's ready to be out. And all the same type of dramas that we see come around again and again in these types of situations, you know? But I really enjoyed this one, even though, like, man, Serena Bowen really likes to make you hurt before she makes it better. But I also thought it was really beautiful, and I love how she does her gay romance. I really do. And I highly recommend you give this one a try. All right, and that is going to be it for today. I just had 8 recommendations this time. Thought I would try keeping it a bit more simple today. So let me know if you have some office or workplace romances that you would like to share with me. A lot of these ended up being sports, which I thought was kind of funny, but I guess that tells you the type of mood that my brain is in with all of the sporty things that I've been watching and things like that. But yeah, let me know what you're interested in seeing next. And again, yeah, make sure you're subscribed to the channel or check out some of my playlists that I'll have linked up here. Like I said, I have hundreds of rec videos at this time, so definitely stuff to keep you busy for ages and ages. Yeah, if you'd like to support what I do here, you can check out my Patreon or channel memberships, or you can get access to bonus content as well as help decide what you want to see here on the channel. So thanks so much for watching, friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.